Something terrible! No, it is already here!
Yeah, I'm not gonna touch this guy with a 10-foot pole.
I don't know who animated this or what it's supposed to be a reference to, but I like it. Run, Luna! I'm coming to devour your soul! I'll be honest, I've always been skeptical at the idea of an episode centering entirely around the background ponies, and for two reasons. One, the background ponies have zero character to work with. Two, 90% of the audience has zero investment in them to begin with. Obsession over background ponies has been one of those things about the community that baffles me completely. I mean, I get the nucleus of why, it's a lot like the appeal of the original My Little Pony toys, but bronies take it up to 11 and can be very obnoxious about it. All DHX ever has to do is wave Derpy in front of their faces and they'll squeal in delight and declare it the greatest thing in the world, like a toddler being shown jingling keys. And that's how we get Slice of Life, supplanting Feely Vanilli as the worst episode of the series. I've heard some people compare this to 22 short films about Springfield, and I'll get to why that's a dumb comparison in a minute. The problem with Slice of Life is the fact that none of these characters are in any way identifiable. And I don't mean the ability to identify with them, I mean the ability to simply identify them. There is nothing within the show that provides any insight on these characters, and now the audience is expected to care about all of them in one go. There's an old video with Dr. Wolf and Golden Fox where Fox laments the possibility that in the future, the IDW comics would become required reading in order to understand the show better. And that would suck, because then you'd have to expend time and money to understand something that should be, at its core, very simple to understand. You know what would be even worse? If instead of easy-to-find comics, you'd have to search through pages upon pages of message boards and forums in order to follow the story of a particular episode. Oh wait! There's a three-tiered system when it comes to ensemble television shows. Let's take Family Guy for example. I know a lot of people don't like that show, but just follow me on this, okay? You have your main cast through which each episode will often center around. That would be the Griffin family: Peter, Lois, Chris, Brian, Stewie, and Meg. Then you have your supporting cast, which acts in either secondary roles or serving as bit parts. Characters like Joe, Quagmire, Cleveland, Dr. Hartman, Seamus, Bonnie, Carter, and Babs, Peter Schmidt, Angela, all characters that at any time can be used in an episode because the series makes frequent small-time use of them as the series progresses. Then, on the final tier, you have background characters. Characters with a very generic design that only exist to be the crowd and are probably voiced by Mike Henry or Seth MacFarlane. They exist to fill the scene and are often created for the sake of that role. It's this third tier that the background ponies in MLP sit. They don't speak, they don't have personalities, they exist only to fill a scene and make Ponyville look like it has a population higher than 6. And while some characters are frequently glimpsed doing things in the background of a scene, most people don't notice it. Why? There's a story that currently has your attention. This is also why most animation errors go unnoticed by anyone who isn't named Little Shy Fim, because they're split-second bugs that aren't noticed when you're paying attention to the story. If DHX had used these characters from the start in the same way The Simpsons and Family Guy do, then this would have been different. In fact, DHX already does this with characters like the Princesses, the Spa Twins, and Bulk Biceps. An episode about Celestia with Twilight acting in a supporting role to her? Excellent idea. This, on the other hand, did not have that kind of setup. There have been some who've tried to excuse this by saying it's a love letter to the fandom. Putting aside the fact that I'm biased against placating fans because if you give them an inch, they will take a mile, it was still bad regardless. If that love letter to the fandom had been good, we wouldn't be having this discussion, and that's where we reach the biggest problem. Slice of Life gleefully sucks off the brony community, and I knew before the episode even aired that a lot of the brony community were going to be declaring it the best episode of the series. Why? Because nobody in their right mind doesn't like being sucked off. If I had a viewer who was begging me to do a video on a given show, and I did that video, it wouldn't matter how bad that video was, that viewer is going to love it because they got what they wanted in the end. All a given property has to do is pat you on the head and tell you you're a good boy, girl, whatever, and they will get heaps of praise for it. It's akin to telling a YouTube commenter, thanks for your feedback. You get rewarded for that. You're treated as humble and very grown up and able to take criticism when in reality you've ignored said feedback completely. Is there a good version of Slice of Life somewhere? Well, yes, there are no bad ideas, only bad executions. There's certainly room to work with these repeated characters in more meaningful ways than this. Amending Fences come to mind, where the characters in question have some degree of agency within the story and act as temporary supporting characters. That dream sequence in Do Princesses Dream of Magic Sheep was another, before Luna ruined it. Any number of potential rarity episodes could include a few of these characters as clients, something that gets them involved, even if it's just bit parts like Bulk Biceps gets. MLP has a very similar structure to other animated sitcoms in this manner. I'm certain there's places for them. Contrary to popular belief, I don't object to the background ponies. There's never been anything to object to. They aren't characters by any practical sense of the phrase. They're just a bucket of haphazard memes that come out of nowhere. Derpy saying muffins isn't funny because where the did that even come from? Oh yeah, some gibberish that may or may not have actually been muffins. You want to see that meme actually done in a funny manner and the character being stupidly funny in a way that's neither forced nor pandering? It already exists. Meet the good version of Derpy.